Atlantis has long been the dominant king of Nassau water park experiences, but there's a new contender, shinier, quieter, and maybe smarter. So the question is, are you getting a luxury resort or just an overpriced money grab in disguise? Hi, I'm Melissa, a university professor who loves to cruise and who loves to talk ship. And today I'm gonna give you the full, honest breakdown of Baha Bay at Baha Mar, because I just returned home from there on a cruise to Nassau. I'm gonna share with you what it really cost, what you actually get, and the million-dollar question, whether it's worth it or not. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly whether Baha Bay at Baha Mar deserves your cruise port money or if you should just keep scrolling. So let's get right into it. The first thing you should know about Baha Bay is that nobody tells you this up front. It's actually not a standalone attraction, and that matters more than you might think. Baha Bay at Baha Mar opened in July of 2021 and is part of a massive sprawling resort complex that includes the Grand Hyatt, SLS, and Rosewood hotels. Now, it's marketed as this cool water park experience, but really what you're doing is stepping into a luxury resort campus. Sounds amazing, right? But it also means you're paying luxury resort campus prices for just a day pass where you can only use a little segment of those amenities. Now, the park itself is huge. It covers 15 beachfront acres and has over 30 different attractions. We're talking lazy river, wave pool, thrill rides, tons of water slides, surf simulator, the whole deal. Now, the landscaping is gorgeous. It's lush. When you step on the ground, you think, wow, this is fancy. The chairs are nice. They're all well maintained and they're all new. And honestly, it does feel more elevated than any other Nassau day pass I've tried before at Atlantis and some of the other options, which I'll also share with you in a moment. Now, the layout is divided into sections with names like Turtle Beach and Stingray Cove for the little ones, but then you've also got those bigger slides like Pirate's Plunge, Cyclone Rush, and Thunderball for those that really like that adrenaline rush. There's also a huge wave pool and plenty of spots to just chill if slides and water attractions and things like that are not your jam. Now, what surprised me most is that even though this is technically a water park, it didn't feel like a water park. And what I mean by that is it didn't feel chaotic, it didn't feel overwhelmed and jam-packed with kids. It did feel like a luxury resort that just happens to have water slides, which makes sense because that's basically what it is. And as a day pass visitor, you get access to all of those amenities at the water park area. You just don't get the hotel room and the other stuff. You just get the water park and the beachfront access, which I'll also talk about in a moment. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky and where you start to get into that value proposition. Baha Bay at Baha Mar is trying to be everything to everyone, and that can come at a cost, literally and figuratively. So let's talk about what it takes to actually get there, and we'll talk also about what it costs. Now, before you get too excited, there's something you need to know about actually booking Baha Bay at Baha Mar, and it's not just as simple as getting a taxi and rolling up on the property. Now, my go-to for booking resort day passes as a cruiser is Resort for a Day. I love this company. They're designed specifically for cruise visitors trying to go outside of the expensive, overpriced group cruise line excursions and to do their own thing cheaper and also in a more private way. And they make the process super easy. Now, I'll put their general link in the description below if you want to check them out. They do have properties at lots of destinations, mostly in the Caribbean. They're starting to branch into Europe too, but that's kind of been a slow expansion. It is mostly in the Caribbean. And if you ever book with them using my affiliate link, I do get a small portion back to me as a commission, as a travel agent, at no extra cost to you. And I do appreciate you using my links because it helps support my content, which is not cheap to produce and it takes a lot of time. So if you found this information helpful, I really appreciate the support by you using my links. But now let's talk about transportation, because you got to figure out how to get there. And this is where most people mess up when it comes to Baha Bay at Baha Mar. Baha Bay is about a 15-minute drive from the cruise port. It's not walkable, don't try it. So transportation is not included in your day pass, so you got to figure out how to get there. Now, when it comes to Nassau, my top recommendation is almost always hiring a private driver. Everything in the Bahamas is expensive. Nassau is expensive. Private drivers here are a little more expensive than in the other cruise port destinations where I typically use them. I also will give you my private driver link below. I have private driver recommendations in about 12 ports of call. Normally, I tell you book my guy Clement, but in this case, don't do it. It's not worth the money. Hiring a private driver is great when you want to get around and see all the different top spots and things in Nassau, like Queen's Staircase, Bahamas Rum Cake Factory, John Watling's Distillery. I could go on for days because there's lots to do in Nassau. And despite what cruisers say when they hate on Nassau, I love Nassau. I think it's a great cruise port. But if you're paying top dollar, and it's expensive, which we'll talk about, for a full day at Baha Bay, you're gonna wanna maximize your time there. You're not gonna wanna go around and see the attractions because that's gonna leave very little time for you to enjoy the actual resort. So a private that driver would just be sitting there at your cost while you're in the park all day, which is a total waste. So to get there and back, I just recommend a simple taxi. Taxis in Nassau, they're easy to find. They're right outside the cruise terminal. The Nassau cruise terminal was renovated just a few years ago. If you haven't been in a long time, it's night and day difference, much better. You exit the terminal, there will be taxis right there. They're government regulated, prices are set in advance, and most of the routes to Baha Mar will run you about $20 to $25 each way. But of course, always confirm the rate before getting in that taxi. And remember here that taxis in Nassau don't use meters and they're sometimes cash only. So confirm that before you get into a taxi and take off. Now, another option in Nassau, if you like to ball on a budget, if you ball on a budget, you're probably not going to go to Baha Mar, but I'll tell you about it anyway, are jitneys. These are their local buses. They're technically an option. They're the cheapest route. They're very, very, very cheap, like a few bucks, but I do not recommend them for this. They don't run on a reliable schedule. They're not designed for cruise timing. You do not want to miss that ship, and they're just not ideal. So don't try to skimp on this one. Just take a taxi. And if you're curious too about rideshare services like Uber and Lyft, they are not available in Nassau. So again, you hearing a theme here? Just take a taxi. So you booked your day pass through resort for a day, you've got your taxi lined up, but now comes a big question that everyone wants to know. What's the cost? As I mentioned, Baha Bay at Baha Mar is pricey, like super pricey. It's expensive. This place and Atlantis are by far the most expensive options for an independent resort day experience in Nassau, with pricing around $160 to $165 for adults, with prices varying seasonally. For kids, it'll run you about $65 to $70 if that kid is under 48 inches in height, and it is free for kids under that height. So if you have really small kids that get in free, it's a much better value for those that don't. Now, Royal Caribbean is in the process of building out their own resort in Nassau. It's also got an eye-watering price pretty close to this. So that's another option you might want to consider as well if you're taking a Royal Caribbean cruise to Nassau. Now, if that high price point does not scare you off, a big decision you'll also need to make is whether Baha Bay at Baha Mar is the best bet for those dollars, or if those dollars would be better off spent at its direct competitor, which is Atlantis Aqua Venture. All right, the big question, is Baha Bay actually better than Atlantis? What's the best bang for your buck? Now, here's what most people don't realize when they're comparing the two. If you've cruised to Nassau before, you've probably heard of Atlantis Aqua Venture. It's the big deal in Nassau. It's been around forever. It's been the go-to water park excursion in Nassau for ages. But now that Baha Bay is on the scene, a lot of cruisers are starting to wonder which one is actually worth it. Now, I have done both, and while they share some similarities, they also have some pretty big differences. Atlantis has that jaw-dropping water slide that goes through a shark tank, the stuff you see on Instagram, and the layout feels like a theme park. It's undeniably impressive, but in my experience, I've been a few times, it's actually super crowded every time I've been, and it feels kind of chaotic, especially when you've got a lot of cruise ships at port, because Nassau is a massive cruise port. They've just expanded with this renovation. So when you have maximum capacity, everyone's running to Atlantis, it gets crazy, crazy crowded. Now, getting to Atlantis, like Baha Bay, requires a taxi. It's just in the opposite direction. Atlantis is over on the Paradise Island side. And the transportation cost is about the same. And day pass pricing is about the same too, with Baha Bay running just a smidge cheaper, but not by much. So when it comes to taxi and day pass costs, it's going to be about the same. Now, here's the kicker though. Neither option is all-inclusive. Most day pass resort options in Nassau are not either, with Breezes and Rio being the rare exceptions. Now, food and drinks are pricey at both Atlantis and Baha Bay, but Atlantis tends to push the limits on what I call outrageous pricing. It's really overpriced. Baha Bay does feel newer, calmer, and more contained, and it does feel a little more upscale. It doesn't have those over-the-top thrill slides of Atlantis, but I find it easier to navigate, much more relaxed and much more refined. The whole setting is just more chill. So if you're looking for a polished, low-stress, chill day experience with much shorter lines and a resort-like lush atmosphere, I would lean toward Baha Bay. But if you or your kids are all about the adrenaline rush, you love water slides, you don't mind the crowds, and you want more of a theme park experience, Atlantis still definitely delivers. Now, another thing to consider, because I'm a fan of lazy rivers, is the lazy river scene, and they are very different at these two parks. Atlantis's lazy river is anything but lazy. In fact, it's marketed as a rapids ride. It's meant to be intense, and it is. It's fun, but it is very aggressive. I like it, but it is not your languid chill and float in a circle kind of lazy river experience. It is more of like a thrill ride. Baha Bay's version, by contrast, it's long. It takes about 15 minutes to go the entire length and loop of the lazy river, and I find it to be super relaxing. I went through that thing, I can't tell you how many times, more times than I can count. So it's great if you want to relax, but thrill seekers might find it a little boring. Now, both parks are undeniably expensive, so in the end, it really just matters on what kind of day you're looking for. If it's thrills and adventure and water slides, go to Atlantis. If it's chill vibes, but still fun for kids and adults who get easily bored, no shame, that's usually me, Baha Bay would be my recommendation. But once you arrive, there's one thing you absolutely gotta know or you'll waste precious time. When you arrive at Baha Bay, do not head into the main hotel lobby. And this is where a lot of people screw up. There is a completely separate check-in area for day pass guests located on the side of the property. And this is important because that's a pretty far distance from the hotel lobby. Again, this is a massive complex of several hotels. It's just a big property. And you don't want your taxi driver dropping you off at the wrong location. Now, most taxi drivers in Nassau, they know where to drop you off, but just make sure they don't drop you off at the resort lobby. Now, Baha Bay does sell out of day passes, so it's important to purchase those in advance if you want to go. They only offer a limited number of passes each day to non-resort guests, because remember, all the people staying actually at Baha Mar get access to these amenities as part of their package. So purchasing online ahead of time is the safest way to guarantee entry. When you arrive, you'll show your confirmation and a staff member will check you in and give you this cute little silicone RFID bracelet. That bracelet is really pretty cute, but don't get too excited. I thought I was gonna take mine home as a souvenir, but they make you give it back and collect it before you leave, which is a little bit of a bummer, especially when you're paying $160+ per person. Now, here's something that really did kind of annoy me, but even though you're paying a premium price, you gotta schlep your towels from the ship. I hate schlepping towels. I know it seems like a minor thing, but I just hate it. Towels are not provided for cruise day pass guests at Baha Bay. So make sure you bring your towels from the cruise ship. If you screw this up, you forget, no worries. You can rent them there, but that's gonna be an extra cost on top of an expensive day pass, and it is about $15 per towel. So it's not cheap, and it's a total waste of money. So save yourself the cash and grab your pool towels from your stateroom or the Lido deck or wherever your cruise line distributes those before you head out in Nassau. Now, when it comes to taxis, a lot of cruisers sometimes get anxious when they're doing an independent excursion like this of getting there is easy, but how do I get back? Well, no worries here. Baha Bay at Baha Mar, it's a big complex. There's a lot of people coming and going at all times. And there is a taxi stand. So taxis sitting there waiting for guests to exit. And no worries, if you come out of your day at Baha Bay at Baha Mar, you don't see any taxis there. Don't worry, just ask a staff member and they will help call you one. And of course, you always want to make sure you return to the ship well in advance of your official return to ship time, because if you're going out on your own independently with a resort day pass like this, if you miss that, they're not going to wait for you. You can wave goodbye to the ship and they're going to leave without you. All right, so now you're all checked in at Baha Bay at Baha Mar. You got your cute little bracelet you're going to have to get back. You got your towels. Now let's talk about the actual beach, because this is where things get a little interesting. Here's what nobody mentions in the glossy photos. The beach at Baha Bay, it's not always picture perfect. And on my visit, it definitely wasn't. Now, Baha Bay fronts Cable Beach, which is one of the better known stretches of sand in Nassau. It is a public beach, but as a guest of Baha Bay, you get access to loungers and umbrellas that are owned by Baha Bay right there along the shoreline. Just keep in mind that when you head out to the beach area and you want to come back into the water park, they will make you scan your bracelet and they will go through a quick bag check. Not a big deal, but it's just worth knowing so you don't get caught off guard. Now let's talk about Cable Beach. Cable Beach is generally calmer. I like Cable Beach, and it's more protected. That's a win for families or people that want to enjoy nice lounging in the water and not into aggressive waves. Now, I love Cabbage Beach, which actually fronts Atlantis on the other side of Nassau, but every single time I've been, it's been super windy and there are very, very aggressive waves. So for a beach day, I almost never seek out Cabbage Beach because of that. Cable Beach, where it is protected, is much calmer instead. So I always pick that one over the other. So that is an advantage that Baha Bay at Baha Mar has over Atlantis. Now, normally Cable Beach is known for its soft sand, calm waves, and beautiful water. And there's even a long pier that runs through part of the beachfront area of Baha Mar, which usually makes it pretty good for snorkeling because fish like to congregate around structures like this. Now, on my recent visit, unfortunately, the weather in Nassau had been stormy the week before, and the water was not at its best. Now, this can always happen. You can't control Mother Nature, of course, but there was a good amount of sargassum or seagrass that had washed up and was floating near the shore, and it made what was usually the crystal clear turquoise water really cloudy and kind of gross. Snorkeling, I did try it around the pier, but the seaweed just really grossed me out. I couldn't see anything anyway. It was really foggy. So I gave that up after about 10 minutes of attempting it and was like, today's just not a beach day. But honestly, that's one of the reasons it's nice to have a pass at a place like Baha Bay, because that gives you the full water park. So even if you like a beach day experience, you normally want to chill at the beach, although if that's what you want, save your money, don't go to Baha Bay. I'll give you some other options in a moment. But if it's not a good beach day, you have this whole water park to use. And so in this case, we're like, okay, no big deal. We like snorkeling, we like the beach, but this lazy river and this water park itself was pretty daggone nice. So we just went and spent most of our day lounging through the lazy river. So if the beach isn't the star of the show, what about food? Because this is where stuff gets a little underwhelming. Now, I don't usually usually expect 5-star service at a water park, which is really what Baha Bay at Baha Mar is. It's a very expensive, fancy, bougie water park, but it's a water park. But at these prices, I wasn't expecting complete apathy either. So let me explain. Baha Bay does have a few casual dining options on site, including Barracuda for hot dogs and burgers and 25 degrees north for fancier dishes. During my visit, I grabbed a margarita pizza from one of the walk-up windows near the lazy river because it was convenient, and it was reasonably priced and the pizza was pretty good. Nothing to write home about, but it was tasty, no complaints. So here it's basically quick casual. You order at the window, you'll get a little buzzer, you'll pick it up when it's ready, and you find a spot to enjoy. There are plenty of shaded spots. It wasn't crowded. Again, I really like that about Baha Bay at Baha Mar. So the setup is convenient, especially if you don't want to waste time sitting down at a formal restaurant. And again, if you're paying $160 per person plus for a limited, not even a full day, you're going to want to maximize your time doing stuff not sitting in a restaurant. But here's where things took a turn. I was really shocked, unpleasantly so, by the service or the lack thereof. I didn't interact much with staff, but when I did, I was honestly surprised at how absolutely uninterested everybody seemed. Nobody was outright rude, but there was a definite lack of energy. Like they hated life, they hated their jobs, they didn't want to be there. There was no interest in offering even the most basic level of customer service. Basically, they're all immersed in their phones. And at one point I asked someone for directions and he barely could be bothered to look up off his phone. So it felt really off for a place that charges a premium price and markets itself as a luxury resort. It did not have luxury service at all. Major disappointment. So for a resort that positions itself as high-end, the apathy from the staff, it really did stand out for me. Now, of course, it didn't ruin the day. We still had a great time, but it's definitely something that was so noticeable that I made note of it. I'm like, okay, this is a little incongruous with what I expected, because I would expect a better standard of service for the cost of the day pass here and the fact that this is a luxury resort. Now, in terms of drinks, I'm not a drinker, so I can't speak to alcohol prices, but I did notice plenty of people ordering cocktails throughout the day. Most drinks seem to be in the $15 to $20 range based on the menu boards near the bar. So the service was lackluster. The drinks are pricey. Everything in Nassau is pricey. But what about the actual attractions? Because that is really what you're paying for if you're coming to Baha Bay at Baha Mar. Now, here's the one thing Baha Bay absolutely delivers on, and that's the reason why most people actually might think the price is justified. Baha Bay is way bigger than I expected. It's not just a few slides and a lazy river, it's a full-fledged water park with lots of different sections, each offering something a little different. You could easily spend a full day here and not see everything. And that makes that high cost of that day pass feel a little bit more justifiable if you can actually make use of it all and squeeze it all in. There's a family-friendly splash zone with water playgrounds, shallow pools, mini slides for the little kids. You've got the lazy river, as I mentioned, was my favorite thing, the highlight of my visit. But if you're looking for more action, there's plenty of full-size water slides, including some pretty intense body slides and raft rides. So thrill seekers or people that get bored easily, they will not be disappointed. There's also a surf simulator and a wave pool, both of which were very popular when I was there. I didn't try either, it's just not anything that interests me, but they definitely add value to the variety of experiences that are available. Everything is pretty well spaced and spread out, which helps keep things from feeling crowded, and that relaxing vibe was probably the thing that I liked most about my visit to Baha Bay. Loungers and umbrellas are available throughout the park and at the beach, and we had no trouble finding any of them. Usually on beach days at cruise port stops, I can't stand that mad dash, clamoring for a limited supply of chairs and umbrellas, feeling like you're fighting for one. So it was really nice not to have to deal with that here. Now, if you're the type who likes variety and a full day of options, Baha Bay delivers. It's not cheap, but you're definitely getting access to a full-scale water park, not just a beach with a few extras. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Baha Bay does not provide towels for cruisers visiting with a day pass, which is frustrating considering that high price. So if you visit, again, you gotta bring your towels with you, otherwise you pay a high rental cost. All right, so now that we've covered the good, the bad, and the meh, now let's talk about the big question, which is my honest take. Is it worth it? For most cruisers, honestly, Baha Bay, it's not worth it. It's just not. It's beautiful, there are some great features, but it's also one of the most expensive day passes in Nassau. And for what you get, there are just better values out there. If you're looking for a relaxing beach day, there are other resorts in Nassau that deliver a similar or even better experience at a significantly lower price, so let me give you some options. First is Breezes. This is my absolute top pick. It's kind of become my go-to in Nassau. Now it is ages 14 plus. I have a kid under that age, so when I'm cruising with her, I can't go to Breezes, but when I'm cruising with adults, this is usually my go-to spot. And in fact, it's actually a few properties down on Cable Beach from Baha Mar. So when you're in the ocean at Baha Mar and you look down, you can actually see Breezes right down here on your left. Now the big difference between Breezes is older, it's dated. Now the thing here though is that Breezes is significantly cheaper. I'm talking like half the cost, depending on seasonality, of Baha Bay. And the big thing, it's all inclusive. Yes, including alcohol. And it uses that same exact stretch of beach. There's no water park here, so if you're not into that though, don't pay for it. But they have great pools, the same exact oceanfront access, loungers and umbrellas, and all the food and drink that you can consume. Plus, they include towels, so you don't have to bring those with you and you don't have to pay to rent them. Now, getting there, you will still need a taxi because, again, it's not walkable from the cruise port, but booking a taxi, again, as I mentioned, it's not too expensive. So Breezes, for the all-inclusive aspect of it and the low price, I think is a steal. Now, if you do like water parks, but you don't want to spend the eye-watering $160 plus per person cost to go to Baha Bay at Baha Mar, another great option that I call Baha Mar Light is Margaritaville. It has a few small water slides, a small lazy river, a surf simulator, and a pretty nice pool setup, just on a significantly smaller scale than Baha Bay. It's not all-inclusive like Breezes, but they do provide towels. But the biggest perk, it's walkable from the cruise port. So you're gonna save 40 to 50 bucks on that taxi, plus you're gonna maximize your time because you're not eating up time transporting to and from because you can walk there so easily. Now, if you like walkability, another great option is British Colonial. This is usually the cheapest of all the Nassau options. I think it's the hidden gem of Nassau, and it is a quick walk from the port. By far, it's the closest of all your options. You don't have to take a taxi, assuming you don't have mobility limitations. And in my opinion, this and Breezes are the best value. Breezes is the best value if you want all-inclusive, but if you don't really want or need that, British Colonial is going to be your best value in terms of just lowest cost and most easily accessible. Now, British Colonial is pretty bare. There's no water park, but they do have beautiful pools, loungers, and direct beach access, all for about half the price of Baha Bay. Towels are included, and again, it's a super easy choice if you want something low-key and affordable. Another option that's the most directly comparable is Atlantis Aqua Venture. Now, I talked about this earlier. This is the closest true competitor to Baha Bay. Pricing is about the same, but Atlantis is bigger, it's bolder, and it's also way more crowded, as we've talked about. Now, if you're traveling with kids and you want them to be able to enjoy water slides, they're old enough to maybe go off on their own, but you want to relax and chill, Baha Bay is, I think, the better pick. But if you personally love water slides or your kids need a lot of supervision, there's no chillin' to be had, then Atlantis wins in terms of the scale and the wow factor. So again, here's my bottom line. Unless you're really into that water park vibe, Baha Bay probably is not the best value for your port day dollars. Also, you gotta check your call time. I've been to cruises to Nassau that have really short calls. Maybe you're not off that ship till 10, you gotta be back at 4. I would not spend the money at Baha Bay if I've only got a few hours to spend there. But if you have a long call or the rare overnight call, which doesn't really happen that much anymore in Nassau, they're very rare, then yes, it's probably worth your money. Or if you have money to burn and you don't care about cost, you want just a bougie experience, by all means, Baha Bay at Baha Mar is a great option. Otherwise, I think there are much better choices in Nassau. So I wanna know what you think. Have you ever been to Baha Bay at Baha Mar? What is your go-to spot in Nassau? Let me know in the comments and let's talk ship.